Hello, first grade. So today I'm going to give you a small bit of clay and we're going to create a feeling sculpture today. So I want you to think of different feelings that you've had. You've been happy, sad, excited, frustrated, angry, sleepy, joyful, whatever you can think of. And I want you to try to show that emotion in a sculpture. And we're going to create an organic shape, which means that it's not going to be a shape that has a name, like a circle or a square or a triangle. It's going to be organic, so it doesn't have a name. It's its own shape. It's nameless. And so what I want you to do today is I want you to roll the clay, pinch the clay, and pull the clay. So I'm going to start by rolling. So I want to kind of use my hands to kind of pinch this, press this into a ball. I can roll it on the cardboard. You're going to keep your clay on the cardboard. It's not going to go on the table. And I'm going to roll it into a sphere. And now we want to pinch and pull. And so I'm going to pinch the clay and pull it away from the sphere. Pinch and pull. And I'm going to do it in different parts, in different spots. And I'm going to bend it and see if I can't create something that reminds me of a feeling that I've had in the past. Now, with clay, if you mess with it too much, it starts to dry out. So you kind of have to be decisive about what you're doing. You can't keep not liking what you do, wad it back up, and start over. But again, if you don't like what you did the first time, you can wad it up and start over. But if you do that too many times, your clay is going to get really dry and you're not going to be able to pinch and pull. It's going to start breaking. So I just want to see what I can make and see how this looks and how it makes me feel, and if I feel like it looks like an emotion or a feeling. And this is very subjective, which means some of you are going to see the shape and the feeling and like it, and some of you may not like it, and that's okay. So I kind of like this shape, and it kind of sits kind of nice on the table, but I've got some creases that I want to kind of get rid of. So just by taking my pointer finger and rubbing that on those creases, it kind of gets rid of those and gets rid of those cracks. And I can make this look just a little bit smoother. But if I was doing angry or frustrated, maybe I want those cracks in there. So you just have to decide what you think looks best for the feeling that you're trying to create, for your feeling sculpture. Now, if my clay is too dry, this wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't fix the cracks and the crevices that I want to get rid of. But my clay is a nice moisture, a nice wetness to it, so it is smoothing pretty easily. And I definitely want this to be the bottom, and I want it to sit on the table. So I need to make sure it'll sit and not roll around. And mine does a pretty good job of that. So once you get your feeling sculpture the way you want it, you're going to bring it to me. You're going to show me where the bottom is, and I'm going to scrape your initials and the day you have art, day A, day B, day C, on the bottom. And I'm going to leave them out to dry for a week or so. Then I'll fire them. You'll get them back nice and hard, and then we'll glaze them. Hello, first grade. So today we are going to glaze our feeling sculpture. So you made your feeling sculpture. It should have a bottom where it sits. And we scraped your initials and the day you have art on the bottom. So the top and the sides are where you're going to glaze. You won't glaze the part that touches the table. And when we glaze, we're taking little bits of sand and painting them onto our sculpture. And I'll fire it in the kiln. It'll get really hot, and that sand will melt and make a glass coating. So here's an example of good glazing and bad glazing. So if you put a nice thick coat of glaze, 2 or 3 coats of glaze on, you get this nice shiny bright color. And if you put it on real thin, or your paintbrush has a lot of water in it, you get this faded color, and it's not nearly as shiny. In some areas it's not shiny at all, like here. So when you glaze, you really need to put 2 or 3 coats on, and your paintbrush needs to be dry. So I'm not even going to give you a bowl of water or a wet paintbrush. I'm just going to give you a dry paintbrush, and you choose one color from the choices that I have, and you're just going to dip your paintbrush in the color, and you're going to paint the top of your sculpture and get in all the cracks and crevices. You're going to paint the side of your sculpture, and since your sculpture is 3D and it's a sculpture in the round meant to be viewed from all sides, you're going to have to turn it and paint all around the whole thing. Now when you glaze, do not glaze the bottom of your piece. If you glaze the bottom of your piece, I will not be able to fire it, and it won't be able to the sand won't be able to melt and be shiny. So when you're glazing, you might find little bits and chunks in the glaze, and you want to keep those there. You want to paint those on and leave them there. So if you have a few little bumps of glaze, just leave them there. It's a good thing. Some glazes have these little metal pieces in them, and they create a really nice polka dot effect, and the metal burns and changes the color where it's sitting. So those little chunks might be metal pieces that will create a nice texture and a nice spot in your piece that'll look really, really cool when it's done. So you want to make sure that you get all the white spaces. So I have some white spaces here I need to cover. So you really have to pick up your clay piece and lift it up and check and see that you've made and covered all of the little cracks. So sometimes you take your paintbrush and kind of jab it into some of those little cracks and crevices. And by the time you get to the opposite side of your clay piece from where you started, you'll be able to put another coat, paint another coat of the same color right on top of the first one, because this glaze dries really fast, which makes it easy to add. So notice how the bottom of mine is still white, and I've just painted right along the side edge and not painted the bottom. If you paint the bottom, it's a waste of glaze and I won't be able to fire it for you, and that'll be really sad. So I'm going to set this back down on the table, and I've got spots over here that have already dried because glaze dries really, really fast. So I'm going to put a second coat, paint the same color right on top of the first same color, not changing my color, that would be silly, and put a nice thick coat on, making sure to get in all my cracks and crevices so that I get a nice shiny fired piece with melted glass on the outside. Okay, and so once you have your second coat on, you're going to bring me your paintbrush and your cup of glaze and your clay piece. We're going to leave it on the table to dry. I will refire it and get it back to you.